All right. So we want to quickly look at dealing with time wasters, okay, and how to manage meetings effectively. So based on our discipline, right, we are likely going to be handling a lot of meetings, okay? So we want to look at how to deal with um time wasters and how to ensure that your meeting is managed effectively, okay, from the time point of view. So we want to look at some common time wasters in the professional and academic setting. We want to look at some strategies that reduce distractions and interruptions, and then how to conduct effective and productive meetings. We'll also look at how to disengage politely from unproductive conversations. And then we'll also look at the final one, which is the um, improving of focus, and then um, having an efficient schedule as an individual, right? Okay, so we also look at productivity in the context of working hard and working smart. Okay, working hard is different from working smart. Sometimes you can work so hard, put in all the energy you have, but you realize that the results, it doesn't really show. What you expect does not show. So it is important that beyond working hard, you are working smart and looking for the efficient ways of doing things, right? So if I can get the same thing done, right, by maybe using just 30 minutes to get that work done. Why do I have to go through maybe 5 hours of work to get the same thing done? Okay, so productivity is not just it does not just mean working hard, but also trying to work smart, right? And sometimes you have a lot of activities which are actually time wasters. They are not adding anything to you. They drain your energy, they take away your focus, they reduce your results, but they are not adding on anything. Okay, a typical example is when, for example, there's a WhatsApp message, and maybe you are in the middle of a serious thing. Maybe you're working on something, then a WhatsApp message comes. It takes your attention only to realize that it is a joke that your friend is sharing. But before you are able to go back to what you were doing and have that level of productivity, most of your time would have been lost. Okay, so it's important that you take note of time wasters, right? If someone is a knowledge worker is anyone who uses their brains, right, to work, not their physical strength. Um, I'm not sure who is making the noise. So forgive me if you are not the one making the noise and I mute you, okay? I'm actually muting everyone. Sorry about that. So if someone works with their brain, so for someone like me, I don't do a lot of physical work. My work has to do with my mind. Okay? So if I am working on something productive, I'm using my mind maybe to write something or to type or to talk or whatever it is I'm doing, and there is a distraction or maybe something gets in the way and takes my mind off what I was doing, you realize that before I'm able to come back to my initial position, I would have lost a lot of time, okay, to be able to get back to where I was before I was taking off my balance, or I was taking off focus. Okay. So for example, if I'm in class with you and there's a distraction or something happens, it takes away some time before I'm able to go back. Right. Even now that we are talking, every time I go to check who is in the waiting room and admit them in, it takes some of my time. And sometimes even my thought process is it has to be reorganized before I get back to where I was. Okay, so it's important to take note of all of these small activities which actually waste our time. Okay, they don't add on anything, they actually take part of our productive time away. And sometimes, as professionals, you have to attend a lot of meetings, but most of the meetings may not even apply to you. So you'll be called to sit in that meeting, called to go and be a part of this discussion. And you realize that at the end of the day, if you sit down and you reflect, most of the meetings you sat in did not really have anything to do with you. So it's important to note all of these time wasters as um, as individuals, right? So we look at some common time wasters, right? The first one is the email overload. Okay. And for some people, on average, you have about 74 emails to check. Okay. So let me just be realistic here. How many of you are in the class? You have just around 50 of you, right? If I give an assignment and I tell you to send to my email, what it means is that just your class, forget about all the other classes, just your class, in that day that I've told you to submit, it means that I'm expecting just about 50 emails for only this course. Okay. So if I have to do for every other course, what it means is that there's an overload. Okay. So how do I handle this? Because it will waste my time. If everybody is sending me WhatsApp message and I have to check it every time, it's wasting my time. Okay. So email overload, social media distractions, right? There's also the distraction where you are not able to delegate effectively, right? So you are deciding, you are doing all the work by yourself. Like how? Okay, so all of these are time wasters. If you decide to do all the work by yourself, you are not helping yourself. Delegate. If you are not delegating, it's a time wasting thing, especially if the activity does not really add on to you. Okay, so how do I handle it? With the email overload, what can be done is to, for example, if I give all of you work to do, what I would do is not to check for the whole week and then schedule maybe a Saturday. And on that Saturday, I check. Okay. And this is to say that I've been checking your works, and some of the things you send to me do not qualify. I have just not said anything about it. If I tell you to discuss something and you're sending me two sentences, you can imagine what grade I will give you if I have to grade it. This one is just a friendly advice to those of you who are doing it. I am checking. And some of you too, you don't send it in a Word document. You just type it in the email just like that. And then you send it. Okay. Please, all of those are things to check. That is just by the way. Okay. That is by the way. But what I'm saying is, in a case where you have email overload, what can be done is to put all of them in batches. So maybe for this week, you check through and see who submitted, who did not submit. That is what I do. Okay. Another thing to do is to set auto replies. So on the email, there are ways to set auto replies. So for messages, when they come, there can be an auto reply that says that, oh, I'll not respond to your message now, but as soon as I have access to my laptop, I will respond to your message. Okay, so that the person will not also be waiting to hear from you and that they are not hearing from you. That is also not polite. So you can set the auto replies to reduce the number of emails you have to work on immediately. All right. You can also use filters to filter the emails that are very important and those which are not important and can be attended to at a later time. So you can set filters. Okay. You can use color codes to decide which of the emails is important and so has to be attended to. When it comes to social media, you can set your alerts off, or you can put off your notification. Okay, so that when there's a new message, you are not notified, so you don't know what is happening. Later, when you put on your data or whatever it is, you can read all the messages and address them. Okay. And as much as possible, we have talked about delegation. If you have forgotten, please go back there. It's important to delegate tasks to people who can help. You can't do everything by yourself. Okay, so it's important to delegate tasks to those who can help. We have also looked at time blocking, right, where you allocate time slots for specific activities. In that case, no matter what is trying to take your attention, you don't give it time, okay, until you are done with that activity. Then you can address those issues. All right, we spoke about where you can put the do not disturb on your door. Okay, I'm actually going fast here because I believe that I have mentioned them before. Okay, then there's also the environmental control, where you try as much as possible to keep the environment you are working in, I don't know, to keep it in a way that is conducive for work, right? So we on this platform, the advice is you should mute your microphones. Okay, so far as you are not talking to us, your microphones should be muted. This is an environmental control, right? We are trying to keep the place conducive in such a way that everybody can hear what is going on. If everybody leaves their microphone on and we can hear the noise in the various backgrounds, what will happen is that we cannot concentrate. So I'm likely to be repeating one thing over and over again because people cannot hear me. Okay, so that is one of the ways to control your environment. If, for example, you are having a private meeting and you don't want people to enter, and so because maybe if they enter, you have to stop talking and attend to them before you start talking again, you try as much as possible to secure the place. So if it's an office, you make sure that everyone who is entering knows that this is a time that they cannot come in. They can come after a later time. Okay, so in that case, you are controlling the environment, right? And then another way to reduce the distraction is to discipline yourself as an individual, right? Discipline yourself. Sometimes we just you are there and you just want to pick your phone, check what is happening, and every 5 minutes you pick your phone, check what is happening. What for? Okay, so you have to discipline yourself. If you are working and you are using, for example, the Pomodoro, you know that I have to focus for 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 1 hour or whatever you have decided on. Discipline yourself enough to stick to what you have decided to do. Then when it's time for the break, you can go to your whatever device you want to check, and then you are okay, right? In some workplaces, you are not allowed to use your phone. Okay, so that's the digital detox during peak focus hours. In some places, when it's time for work, you are not allowed to use your phone because they feel that the use of the phone is a distraction. Okay, I know of a school, a primary school, where teachers enter and they don't use their phones. The phone is taken. If you have any official communication, use the office line, and that's what they do. Okay, so these are ways to reduce the distractions. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, can you hear
Madam,
me? Yes.
good morning.
Yes, Emmanuel, good morning.
Mm. Madam, please, with the distraction. So what if you off your phone and there's something emergency? How will you know?
So that is it. Those are the other angles, okay, where there's an emergency and you have to attend to it. So in the case of emergency, you really cannot do anything about it. So the thing is, do not you may decide not to put off your phone. But for example, if you are using the Pomodoro, in 30 minutes you can go back. Okay, so if you have 30 minutes and you are doing 25 5, after 25 minutes you can attend to the phone. Okay, And I don't think that if the emergency expects you to move immediately within that 25 minutes, when you check, it will be too late. Okay. And this is done when you want to focus on a particular activity. You may decide not to do it every time. Okay. But when you need to focus, in fact, emergencies don't happen every day. Okay. Emergencies don't happen every day, but these are daily routines that can help you to become productive. I don't know if I've answered your questions well. Your question. Can I move on? Have I?
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam.
Welcome. Okay. So if you have more questions, we'll take them after here. Okay. Um, then we look at meetings, right? Sometimes you sit in a meeting, and a meeting that has been planned to last for about 30 minutes or 1 hour takes about 2 hours and 3 hours because the things keep prolonging and people are talking about unrelated issues. Okay. It is important that as you manage your time as an individual, when you attend some of those meetings, or if you organize some of those meetings, you try to work within the time. If it is not in your power to work within the time, you try to put people or try to get people in line. Okay, that's the least you can do. So professionals or people who work, most of the times, according to the research that has been done, they spend about 31 hours per month in unproductive meetings. This means that you in a month you spend about one whole day and 7 hours. 24 hours make a day. So about one whole day plus 7 hours sitting in a meeting that is not productive. It is a waste of time. Okay. Another study shows that poorly run meetings waste up to 20% of participants' time. So you realize that the meeting is actually productive, but the way the meeting was run is such that you sat down there and wasted about 20% of your time. Okay. So why does this happen? First, because there's no clear purpose. The reason for which the meeting was called is not clear. That is why it is important to set the agenda before you call for the meeting. Another cause for the failure of the meeting is because you have a lot of people in the meeting. And sometimes people who are sitting there, they don't have any direct whatever. They are not directly related with what is being discussed. So once they make any comment, they take everybody overboard. Okay, so you have too many people in there, and you don't set the time limits. And for our part of the world, for most of the times, you realize that the start of the meeting is set, but the end of the meeting is not stated. So the meeting starts at 8 a.m. That is what everybody knows. But when the meeting will end, nobody knows. So if you are sitting there for 3 hours, you don't even know if you are overstaying or you are understaying, or there's nothing. Okay, so it is important that when you set the time the meeting will start, you also set the time that it will end, or you give give a fair idea of how long the meeting will last. Okay, so that if it's maybe 2 hours and it starts at 8, everybody knows that by 10 the meeting should end. Okay, so there should be proper time limits. And then as discussions go on, decisions that are made should be documented. Okay, you don't leave the discussions hanging. So if a particular agenda item has been addressed, the decision that was made has to be documented so that in future days to come, nobody goes back to that discussion to do the same thing that was discussed. I believe that we are okay with this. So how do you run productive meetings? I have said this already. You set clear objectives. You start with a defined agenda, and then you share this in advance. So for everybody who is attending the meeting, they know what you are going to discuss in there. And then there should be a limit to the time. So if it starts at 8, how long are we going to stay in the meeting? Or when do we expect to leave the meeting so that people can plan? Okay, so you limit the time and then you limit the participants as well. Okay, so if you want to call for a meeting, as much as possible, you should be within 1 hour, okay, depending on what meeting it is. It should not be something that will keep people lingering around and there's even nothing to talk about. Okay, so you aim for 30, 45 minutes, and only people who are directly related to whatever it is you want to talk about should be invited. Okay, if the person has nothing to do with whatever issue that has to be discussed, there's no need to invite them. Okay. And if, let's say, the meeting is just for updates, maybe in some organizations, they call for weekly meetings or daily meetings. And for those daily meetings, no one will sit down. So it's just a portion of the um, office space. Everybody goes, they stand there, and then the team leader comes around to give whatever updates they have to give. And then that is it. Everybody goes back to their offices. So if it only has to do with a quick update, then people can just attend the meeting and stand. They don't have to sit down. They will stand there, and then you say whatever you have to say to them, give them the updates, and then they are gone. They go back to their task for the day, right? And then you can also use asynchronous communication. So what this means is that it is not every time that you have to call people together to give them updates, right? So if there are updates to be given, then you can maybe send it in an email. What this means is that you have sent out the updates. Not everybody will get it at the same time. If it is synchronous communication, then everybody would have to gather and receive the information at the same time. But with asynchronous communication, the communication is given out maybe in an email or a notice on the notice board or anything. And then the people who are supposed to get that information, they get it at their convenient time. So, for example, if I have decided to check my emails every 12 noon, if you send the update at 8 a.m., I will not see it. I'll see it at 12 noon. Okay, so that is the asynchronous communication. And what this does is that it cuts the meeting time. So you don't always have to be meeting people because you have shared the information with them already. Okay, and there are several ways you can do this. Now you have WhatsApp messages, you can send an email, you can use video messages, you can use audio messages, you can use Slack. Okay, Slack is like um it's also a tool that professionals use. Okay, most organizations use Slack. Okay, and these are various tools that can be used for the asynchronous communication. All right, and then the next step is to promote engagement, right? So that if you want to have a meeting, okay, use small groups. Don't meet a lot of people um at a time, right? So the two pizza rule, use that. If you have pizza, how many people would it be enough for? Okay, don't get a lot of people at a particular time. Okay, so that the discussions will be fruitful. And when decisions are made, you are able to progress with the decisions that are made. You don't just discuss the issues, discuss them, come up with a decision, and then you are you're good to go, right? Then if you are engaged in a conversation and you notice that the conversation is not really productive, how do you end the conversation? Because sometimes people have issues and they want to discuss those issues with you, but you also know that the issues they are discussing with you is wasting your time. What they are talking about is wasting your time. Okay, so if something is happening and someone is talking to you in a discussion and it's too long, you are tired, you want to go, you want to leave, what do you do? It's important that you exit gracefully because they are, maybe they also need to talk, and that's why they are talking to you. Okay, but in as much as you want to help them, you don't help them at your own expense, Maybe your work is waiting for you at home, and here you are listening to a discussion that is never ending. Okay. So, what can be done? The first you can do is to redirect the conversation. Okay. So, you can let them know, oh, I have this deadline to meet. Let's continue the discussion after. Okay. And then it helps them know that, oh, okay, so not now, but another time. Okay. Another way you can end is to step back, right? Step back a little. Maybe you can have a look at your watch. And then if, for example, you were taking notes, you start closing your notes and then preparing to walk away. When you do that, it gives the person the impression that, oh, it's time and we have to leave. All right. Sometimes I pick some of these cues when I come to class and you do this. I pick some of the cues and you do them. Okay. It's just that you have to do it politely, right? So that it's not like you are being disrespectful. You can watch your time, watch your what your yeah. Have a look at your watch. I was saying to say watch your watch. Have a look at your watch, right? Or you can start wrapping up, putting your pen, your book, whatever it is, start packing up, and it gives an idea that you want to end the conversation. Okay. Another thing you can do is to schedule it for another time. Okay. So you make the person know that, oh, you are interested in the conversation, you value it, but if it's okay, you can set a time later to discuss whatever it is that is being discussed. Okay. And then you can also set availability signals. Okay. Let people know when you're available to talk. So sometimes you can do this on your Google Calendar, right? Let people know when you're available, or even your WhatsApp, you can set status, or not status, but you can set your description to let people know when you're available to talk, or when you're available for um a discussion. Okay. All right. So basically what we have said is that there are a lot of time wasters. And if you are not careful, no matter how much energy you have, some things will come in and they will get in your way. Okay. You have long meetings, poor delegations, social media, emails, all of those are important, but they are time wasters. If you don't manage them well, they waste your time. So it's important to manage the distractions well. We have looked at most of these strategies already. We have looked at the time blocking, the focused environment, self-disciplines. We have looked at all of them, but it's important to know when to use what. Okay. And then for meetings, it's important that you don't only set the time to start, you also set the time the meeting has to end. Provide the purpose or set the agenda for the meeting, and then use or engage only the people who are relevant for the meeting, not just anybody. Come and join and let's talk. Okay. And then, as much as possible, try to end conversations respectfully. Okay. Unnecessarily very long conversations, you try to end them respectfully. And then, as you do this, you try not to harm your relationship with other people, because there are ways you can end a conversation that would it will look like you are not polite. It will look like you are disrespectful. Okay, so as much as possible, to protect your relationships, it's important that you uh, protect your. It's important that you end your conversations respectfully. Any of the course reps on the call, please take attendance now. All right.
I have
Any
one now.
questions? Yes, please take the attendance. Um, I will take the questions now, and then we can go to the next one. I want to finish with this today, and then we'll have some discussions. Any questions?
Madam,
Yes.
madam, please, what is it's in connect it's in current communication.
Okay. I think I explained that, right? If you say synchronic, then it means you are synchronic communication means that you are giving out communication or you are sending out some information and you expect everybody to hear it at the same time, right? So, for example, for the class we are having now, it is a synchronous communication. Synchronous because I have about 34 people on the call or 33 people on the call, and all of you are hearing me at the same time. That is synchronous communication. Asynchronous communication is where I come online, for example, and none of you is on the call. So I will be on Zoom alone. I will record whatever it is I want to tell you and then share it with you. When I share it with you, the time that everybody will listen to what I've shared with you is different. So someone will listen to it in the night because that is when they have free data. So they will listen to it at midnight. Somebody thinks, oh, I am at work. I have free Wi-Fi. So I can listen to it now. So when I share it, maybe at 8 o'clock, somebody listens to it. Someone will also listen at maybe 9 o'clock because that is when they got one CD to buy credit. Somebody will listen at 12 midnight because that is when they have access to free data. Okay, so the one that everybody is listening to it at different time or everyone has access to it at a different time is the asynchronous communication, right? So with the asynchronous communication, people get to access the information at different times. All right, so it can be asynchronous or synchronous. If you call for a meeting and everybody will have to come to their conference hall to listen to you, that is a synchronous meeting, or whatever communication will go on there is synchronous. If you don't call for the meeting and you send an update through email or through a WhatsApp message or whatever notification you send to the various offices, and everybody reads the information or listens to the information at a different time, that one is called asynchronous communication. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, madam. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other question? Otherwise, um, we'll end this one here. Let me end this recording.